Yo, 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 everybody. You know, we love to bring guests to the show every now and then, and I couldn't be more honored to have the man, the myth, the legend, Fox Sports analyst and college football aficionado, Joel Klatt himself. Welcome to the show, brother.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. I don't know if the college football world is doing so great right now. I know you know news of having Lane Kiffin take the job.
Yeah.
You and leave an Ole Miss team that is in the college football playoff, 11 wins, leaving all of that behind that he built. Do you think that Lane Kiffin was wrong for taking the LSU job?
It's such a deep question because, I don't want to tell another man like, hey, man, you can't make that, you can't do that for your family or anything. So I don't want to begrudge anybody their decisions, but I do know that decisions in general have consequences. And these decisions and this decisions in particular that he's made has massive consequences. And I will say, like, this was a selfish decision, and he's leaving a lot of people in a terrible spot. And more specifically, a team that he stood in front of and asked for buy-in and commitment and asked them to lay down themselves for the greater good and for something bigger than themselves. As you know, man, we've sat in locker rooms our whole life. And that's what coaches ask us to do is, leave our last name at the door and play for the name on the front of the jersey or the logo on the helmet. And Lane made a decision that was different than that. And so it's unfortunate. And at the same time, if he wants to do that for his family, that's kind of where we're at in college football because we operate in such a broken calendar. I don't think that that's an excuse. I do think that this diminishes his credibility. But Robert, like, how do you go and stand in front of another team and get them to buy in after making this decision? If I'm an opposing coach in the SEC or around the country, the first thing that I'm going to say, if I'm recruiting against Lane Kiffin, is I'm going to say, why would you commit to him if you don't know if he's committed to you? That would be my line. And, and I think that that's right.
So, man, there's so much there because I don't disagree that it was a selfish decision. We just heard Deion Sanders come out recently and say we got to stop sugarcoating it with a lot of these guys, player-wise, that go to different schools and into the transfer portal every offseason because it's about the money. It's a money decision. When you say the credibility standing in front of the team, do you not get the feeling that this LSU job is like the end-all be-all for Lane? And if it doesn't work at LSU, he won't be standing in front of a big-time Power Four or especially a prestigious college football program as the leader of them. He'll have to go back down to try to claw his way back up. Do you not feel that makes it a little bit different on his side?
Sure.
When you get it compared to John Summerall going from Tulane to Florida, Eric Morris going from North Texas to Oklahoma State?
I do agree with that, right? Like when you're moving up, I think it's a different conversation. And even the players have an understanding of that. When Summerall is standing in front of them, they're kind of like, yeah, hey, man, we get it. The resources are totally different. Now, I would make the argument that in today's college football, Ole Miss, at least for right now, is better than LSU. Now, I'm not saying that in general, but you know what I'm talking about in terms of it standing right now, the alignment with their administration, with the entire university. I think LSU probably has committed something from a financial resource, not only to Lane, but also to the program that maybe is above what he was getting or could get at Ole Miss. And I understand all of those things. I would still, in college, this might be kind of the last rung of the ladder. But again, if I'm an opposing coach, I'm going to say, hey, what happens if the Cowboys call Lane Kiffin?
I mean, he's probably going.
He's probably going to go. So I think it's a tough scenario. I don't buy that he has to make this move to win a national championship. Like that excuse to me rings hollow because of the new nature of college football. Look at what Joey McGuire is building at Texas Tech with the resources they have. Look at what Kurt Cignetti is building at Indiana. Look at what Lane built at Ole Miss. So I think the proof is actually what he's done at Ole Miss. And if he really wants a chance to compete for a national title, he has it right in front of him. with this team.
Yeah.
So, that's where, and yes, players are making selfish decisions as well, and they're about the money, but players don't leave now. We haven't seen a quarterback say like, oh yeah, I led my team to the playoff, but before the playoff, like, peace guys, like, I'm out of here.
Right, I'm with you. I believe that the adults in the room did not adult during this situation. Lane is making the decision to go and do what's best for himself and his family, going to LSU. It's a dream job for him. He wanted it. Ole Miss, at the same time, whether or not they gave him an ultimatum, they did force the issue for him to make that decision. And I believe that was well within their rights. But I think the people who are getting forgotten in all of this is the players. The issue was forced so quickly here near the end of the season. Both sides, in my opinion, come out looking like they don't truly care about the players.
Yeah, so I think it's a question of time. The players' view of time and their value of time right now is like looking through a straw. They only care about this moment, right? This is their moment right now. And, you experienced that winning the Heisman Trophy. Like, that was your moment, like, and it is finite and it is small. It is narrow for a player. The people at Ole Miss, yes, they're trying to look out for the program in its entirety for a future where they don't want a guy leading the program that's not looking after the program through roster building, time frame, for the future of the program. Lane's looking out for his future. So their scope of vision and time is much more broad than the players. So the players are absolutely being forgotten because the objective of focus by the adults is very different than the objective of the focus of what the players have right now.
No, you're 100% right. And you're saying it, and I'll say it. There's no way Ole Miss is a better football team going into the college football playoff without Lane Kiffin.
No way.
That's just
no way. He's the play caller.
I mean, he's the one that, honestly, he was the lifeblood of that program. Do you think Pete Golding getting the head coaching job tables any conversation about them not getting into the college football playoff because they don't have their head coach?
Yeah. I hope so. And I thought it was interesting what Yurchek said last week, that we will have not seen them play without Lane, which is different than the Jordan Travis argument, because even though Florida State was undefeated, I'm talking about 2 years ago, if everyone remembers, when Florida State was left out as an undefeated, and they had data points or games that they got to watch Florida State play without Jordan Travis before making their decision. And they made the determination that without Jordan Travis, that Florida State team, even though they were undefeated, was not one of the four best. And they won't have that opportunity with this Ole Miss team, which I think is convenient for them. But those players have earned their way into this playoff. So I think it does table that conversation. And now we're going to get into the politicking section of college football, where all the teams are arguing for their spot in the committee room.
No doubt about it. And that takes me to the next question of the situation with the Texas Longhorns. Coming off of a huge victory against Texas A&M, rivalry game. Texas A&M, to a lot of people, was the number one team in the country. I had it at number 3, but bottom line is Texas gets that win, and it's probably one of the more impressive wins throughout the entirety of the season. Do you think that Texas deserves or has earned a spot in the college football playoff?
That's very tough. Let me just broadly make this before I say anything specifically about Texas, Robert. Like, when we used to be arguing in the 4-team playoff era, and by the way, sorry, another preface. I'm not saying the 4-team was better. So this is just an observation. Right. When we were in the 4-team era, we had arguments between 2 to 3 teams, maybe 4 max, that were arguing for that 4th spot. And they all had really good cases. Like, these were really good elite level teams with maybe a loss, maximum 2. Well, this is why I don't think that the answer or the solve for what we're seeing now is just more expansion. Because as you expand, then the group of teams that have an argument for that spot or the last few spots on the bubble expands. And so now we're talking about 4 to 6 teams that think that they all have an argument for this. And guess what? The arguments are much more flimsy, much more flimsy. And the teams aren't as good. And so every team is going to lean on some, through line of a propaganda argument that they can concoct. Because listen, I've gotten all the emails today from all the different SIDs. I'm sure you've got them too. The text messages. Hey, well, this is our argument. This is our argument. We've got this many wins against teams, and ours happened when they were ranked, and this is not. And I mean, it's like I can't even make sense of it all because they're all arguing. They all believe that they have a case, but the problem is that they all have giant blemishes. Hey, Texas, don't lose to Florida.
Period.
You know what I mean? That's a tough one, right? Like Miami is sitting there pounding the table, and maybe rightly so because they beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Don't lose to Louisville and SMU, who just got beat by Cal. So does Texas have an argument? Let me get back, and I want to answer your question specifically. Do they have an argument? Yes, they have an argument. Is it a good one? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because you look at what they've done, their losses versus what Oklahoma has done, and their wins. And even though they've got the head-to-head, they've got one fewer loss. Are you arguing just against Oklahoma? Do you also have to incorporate Notre Dame? Notre Dame also has the loss to A&M. This is what I'm talking about. It just gets so messy and murky. Yeah. I will say this. Notre Dame's the only one of those teams on the bubble that I would be looking at that I would actually lay money on to get to the semifinal or the final. The other teams are going to lose in the first couple of rounds. OU is going to lose. Bama, if they get in, they're going to lose. They're flawed. Texas is going to lose. Notre Dame is more legitimate, and I think that's why they've got this spot is because the committee's charged to just include the 12 best teams. And I think that they rightly believe that Notre Dame is one of those.
I mean, it's really solid points because that brings us now to the conversation around BYU. BYU sitting there at 11-1. They've been on the outside looking in at that 11 spot in both the AP poll and the college football playoff poll. Do you think BYU has done enough to earn a spot, whether they win the Big 12 championship or don't in the college football playoff?
One of the reasons why I don't, and this is to my detriment. So let me put my hand up and say, I'm guilty of this, is that I don't generally include them in this conversation or this argument. And the reason is because I think that if they lose Saturday in the Big 12 championship game, they won't be in the argument. And if they win, they're in automatically. So to me, they control their own fate in that regard. Now, if you want to have the discussion should they be in the argument if they were to lose a second time to Texas Tech? Well, that becomes a little bit more of a question and a debate. I will tell you this. I wouldn't want to play BYU.
Either.
I saw, I've seen, you've called, is it 3 or 4 BYU games?
3 BYU games, and that running back, that running back is no joke.
Dude, and you pointed it out so well in the game against Cincinnati. I was watching you and Jason call that game, and you guys did an outstanding job. And LJ was a beast in that game. And they were just owning the line of scrimmage, man. And I was like, dang, I don't want to tackle him. Very similar to Notre Dame. It's I don't want to play Notre Dame in the playoff because they're going to beat you up. They can run the ball. You're going to see Jeremiah Love 20 times. You're going to see LJ Martin. He's going to touch the ball 20 times in the backfield and probably catch it another 6 out of the backfield. So you're going to have to tackle that man 26 to 30 times. It's good luck.
No, I'm with you totally. And for me, I think BYU should be in whether they win or lose. Okay. I know automatically in if they win the Big 12 championship because they're highly ranked. And that definitely guarantees you feel like 2 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff. But everything that you just said, it's not just LJ Martin. It's the quarterback, Bear Bachmeier. They have the story, they have the fans, and they have the wins. Where do you stand on it being a Power 4 versus a Power 2? Because when you look at BYU at 11-1, I feel like any 11-1 team that's in the Power 4 that gets to their conference championship game should be in the college football playoff automatically, whether they win or lose in that conference title game. We shouldn't.
Yeah, I think
for that. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I totally agree. I think that the Big 12, unfortunately, gets placed at a tier under the SEC and the Big 10.
Right.
And it's probably, to their detriment, even though they've got the Iowa State win over Iowa. There was a couple of other opportunities that they had, to win some big games early. I do not think that the ACC is very good. I'll just tell you that straight up. Like so at most I would be arguing for like a power 3. Now, all of this is cyclical, and we see great quarterback play in a certain conference. We saw it in the Big 12 last year. Really good quarterback play, and we saw what they could do. Unfortunately, when we talk about power 4 or power 2, and this is just the reality of it, is that it's not about the quality of the football. It's about the power that the commissioners wield. And in college football, the power of the purse is the most relevant thing in terms of shaping the structure of the sport. And the reality is that the Big Ten and the SEC drive the monetary value of college football. And because of that, they call the shots. And you can like it, you can hate it, but that's the reality. So a model that was floated this summer had them at a different tier of an automatic qualifier. They were talking about 4 teams each from the SEC and the Big Ten getting automatic berths, and they talked about 2 each for the ACC and the Big 12. I remember having conversations with Brett Yormark, and we talked at length about this. And Robert, he said, I can't just accept a diminished standing. And I totally understand that. And I said, absolutely, nor should you. But then here was my reply. I said, however, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. And if they're guaranteeing you 2, that's probably better than always getting just 1. And if you have a selection-based model with all the propaganda and all the money that gets thrown around in the other 2 conferences, you're at risk of being viewed as less. And I know that's a really long-winded non-answer, but that's kind of how I view it.
No, I remember we had this conversation, at the seminar, and we talked about this. And I don't know if I have the right analogy, but it's like, when you're a player, we're both players. When you're hurt and you don't really know the extent to which you're hurt, you might play through it. I tore my ACL my sophomore year in college, and I'm on the sideline. They're like, "Hey, see if you can run, see if you can do this stuff." They checked, they did the ACL test, and they're like, "Hey, it's there." I'm like, "All right, great." They're like, "We think you just hyperextended it." I played the rest of the half, threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for 20 yards. When I scrambled, it felt like my knee wasn't there. But we go into halftime, we're up like 35-7 or 42-7, and I find out the next day that I tore my ACL, and I had played on a torn ACL. Now, if they had told me I tore my ACL, I probably wouldn't have played. But because I didn't know, I was oblivious to it and kept charging forward. When you don't know on paper that they're looking at you as diminished, you're going to go out and you're going to fight harder. Sure. And I think that's what the Big 12 and Brett Yormark were looking at. Like, hey, even if you're going to treat us this way, at least we have an argument. And we didn't set the table for ourselves that, yes, we're less than the SEC, less than the Big Ten. I think that.
And I totally agree with. I agreed with him when he said that. I get it. Yeah. I get it. My fear, though, is that if you just sit there and allow this to play out as a selection model and a beauty pageant in a committee room, you'll get what we've got right now, which is BYU at 11-1 outside looking in.
No, I totally agree. It's not. It's going to be a crazy week. And last question I have for you is the fact that it's going to be a crazy week, and we have 7-5 Duke in the ACC championship game going against Virginia. Duke could literally set off a nuke to all of college football, because if they win
100%,
they're not in the college football playoff. The ACC is not represented, and we might actually get 2 group of 5 teams in the playoff. It could be James Madison. It could be North Texas or Tulane based on who wins that game. And if Madison loses, Duke wins, then you get North Texas or Tulane and potentially UNLV from the Mountain West Conference. We're excited to go call it, but where are you? I think that would be. I would love for Duke to win the ACC championship, just to see how.
Just to see it. I'm with you. I actually went through on my show last week like a chaos theory of like, hey, if these five teams win, like this could just be wild. Well, one of them was Texas, and they ended up winning. So now we've kind of got that scenario playing out. But I hear you, and I will say this: it generally takes really wild things to happen in college football for us to actually change for the better. We wait until the car accidents happen before we start to like actually change anything in our sport. There's very little foresight and vision in college football, partly because there's just too many people. There's no one looking over the whole sport. I mean, Robert, you and I could probably talk for 2 hours on this show about that, right? But as it relates to Kiffin and his decision, that's going to promote us to take a hard look at the calendar and where we compete and where we roster build. That's probably a good thing. So we're going to use this car wreck, right? A coach leaving a playoff team to address what is a clear problem in college football. Yep. Duke potentially winning the ACC and us realizing that, like, hold on a sec, like, what is going on? The ACC is not represented in a 12-team college football playoff is a car wreck that will then spur us toward a model that I think will define the path to access to the college football playoff for every single conference and every single team in the country. And however that looks, teams will know if we win these games in front of us, we get to go to the college football playoff, and the fan bases will know. And if those two things happened out of a crazy year like this, then I would count it a success.
I would too. Joel, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. You can check out Joel. He's going to be calling the Big Ten championship game between Ohio State and Indiana. Before you go, I mean, what did you see from Ohio State and Julian Sand and Carnell Smith? Just talk about how impressive they are, and how do you think that Big Ten matchup goes?
Well, I think those two teams are pretty clearly the two most complete teams in the country, and that's why they're ranked 1 and 2 right now. There's not a lot of weaknesses. They each play quality defense. They're each balanced on offense. They each have a quarterback that is in the Heisman Trophy running, and I actually really believe, I don't know where you stand on this, I really believe that the winner of this game, as long as they play well, should win the trophy. That's kind of where I stand on the Heisman between Mendoza and Julian. Here's what that game against Michigan for Ohio State, I think it's scary for everybody in the country. And the reason is that everybody else, maybe save for Indiana, maybe Oregon, maybe Texas Tech, right, they all have flaws. There's like a weakness somewhere, in their game. And you look up and Ohio State's got the best defense in America. They can rush the quarterback. They can stop the run. They can defend the pass. Now you've seen them have a Heisman level passing game and Julian Sand and these two elite wide receivers on the outside. And they can sit there and run the football 16 out of 20 plays on a 20-play drive and eat up 11 and a half minutes against Michigan on the road in the snow. And it's like, okay, like that is scary. I think we're trending toward, if they were to win this week, is it Ohio State against the field moving into the playoff? That's kind of where they've put themselves because no one has threatened them. And I think that's to their credit, more so than this narrative of they haven't faced any adversity. I believe, and I don't know where you would stand being a player, but as a player, your job is to not face adversity. Like your job is to go and control the game, and they control the game better than anybody else. So if they haven't faced any adversity and no one has taken them out into deep water, isn't that to their credit? Yeah. That's always kind of how I view it.
No, I totally agree with you. I think they're one of the most well-coached teams in all of college football, and they're situationally great. Third downs, red zone, defensively, they run so many different styles of defense.
And the fronts.
Yeah.
Rob, the fronts that they change, like down in and down, they're in bear defense, odd defense, even. Then they're in under, they're in over. They're bringing pressure, strong side, weak side, field, boundary. It's really tough for a quarterback. Patricia, their defensive coordinator, has been outstanding.
Yeah, I'm completely fascinated with this matchup because I think it could be a little bit uncanny. So I'm excited for you and Gus getting to call that game. It's like it could be a really high scoring game because of the efficiency of the two offenses. It could also be a very low scoring game because of the defenses, and we'll see which one wins out. I don't see a blowout happening because I agree these two
I hope
teams
not.
so evenly matched, and I couldn't be closer with you on as far as the outcome. If Mendoza and Sayin truly take over the game one way or the other, I think the Heisman Trophy is up for grabs. So appreciate you coming on the show, Joel. You can check him out on his podcast as well, the Joel Klatt show, college football show. And you drop those episodes when?
We in season. We are Monday. We are Wednesday and Thursday. So I appreciate you, man. You've done a heck of a job. It's been really fun to have you on our team here at Fox. And outstanding. Love listening to your show as well. So keep it up, dude.
Appreciate you, brother, and thank you for being a great teammate, man. It's been a very fun year for me being with you guys and being able to call you family. Thank you for welcoming me with
Got it.
And being awesome. Appreciate you, brother.
Awesome, dude. Later.